Hey everybody, Eric here. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson about for loops, which is a very powerful thing in JavaScript and something if you are trying to get through JavaScript and learn it or do pretty much anything with it, you're going to have to loop through things. And I'm going to go through the ins and outs of a for loop. There are many different types of loops, and I'm going to make a whole nother video about all the different types of loops, but this one's really important, and I feel like it's something that we should definitely talk about in depth. So without further delay, let's go ahead and jump in. So one thing I want you to know about for loops is that they are not only for looping through arrays. A lot of people believe when they first start learning how to code that all you can do with a for loop is loop through arrays. But I actually like to talk about them separately because you can use them to just count or do other things. But let's go ahead and write one out real quick. And the way we do that is write the word for, then we open up parentheses, and then we want to put in here our starting condition. And our where we want to start, I should say. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a variable, and we're not going to use var, we're going to use let because it's going to change. And I'm going to say let I, or we can name it anything. I could say let number or whatever equal 0. That's my starting point is 0. Now I need a stopping condition. So I'm going to say I want this loop to stop before before it gets to say let's go up to 10. So before it's 10. So I say I less than 10. Now and I know these semicolons look weird, and I always thought so too with these for loops. Like, why is the semicolon there? You think it would be a comma for parameters or something like that. It's just not. I'm sorry that it's semicolons. I know they look funny, but there's 3 of them. So we've got not 3 semicolons, but 3 spots. So we have this first one, that's the starting condition. This is the stopping condition. And lastly, the iterator. And the iterator is, in this case, going to be plus plus. And then I'm going to come outside of the parens and go all the way to the end and do curlies. Now, inside here is where the loop executes. So if I just actually log in here, hello, what do you think will happen? And if you guess that hello is going to log 10 times, you are absolutely correct. Notice the 10 next to the hello. So what if I logged I in here? What do you think you would see if I logged I in here? Okay, I'll give you a little clue. First, I starts at 0, okay? And then it goes up by 1. That's what plus plus is. So, and then it's going to stop before it gets to 10. So it's going to keep going up by 1 every time it loops until it gets to 10. So what we're going to see is 0 through 9 because it'll stop before it gets to 10. Now, if I wanted to have, instead of 0 through 9, 1 through 10, what do you think I could do differently here? Now, if you said change this to a 1 and change this to an 11, you are absolutely right because it'll start at 1 and it'll end before 11, which will give us 1 through 10, right? Cool. So this little thing has been really confusing to a lot of people that I've taught this to, which is this right here. So what is this plus plus thing? I'm going to teach that to you separately real quick. So if I say let my number, anytime I put the word my, I'm just showing you that it's unique, and I started at, say, let's say 5. And then I say my number plus plus, what do you think will happen when I log my number right here? It's going to go up by 1. That's what plus plus does. So it came out as 6. And if I do another plus plus, it comes up by another 1, right? And so that's what's happening in the loop. When we come down here and it's I plus plus, every time it loops, it's going up by another increment, right? What if I wanted to try something different? What if I wanted a different incrementer here? I could have one. So I could actually do plus equals, and I could do 3, right? Let's get rid of one of these. Plus 5 plus equals 3 will be 8, right? So let's try that in our loop. So if I say plus equals, let's say 2, and let's say I start at 0. How about that? And go back down. Let's go back down to 10. So what do you think this loop will be doing now if I'm I plus equals 2? Let's give it a little space so it looks better. Let's get rid of this. So it's going to go up by 2's, right? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So that's even numbers, right? If you want even numbers, we can start at 0. If we want odd numbers, You guessed it. Let's just start at 1 because then we're going to get odd numbers, right? Evens or odds. So this comes in handy sometimes when you want evens or odds, or you want to like color something. You want to inject something into your DOM. Only the even numbers, or CSS style only the even numbers comes in very handy. So one thing I do want to show you, and this is actually something that I don't think a lot of people know. I mean, I think we're touching on a few things that a lot of people don't know right now, but one thing is there is another way to increment stuff here. So if I come back up here and I say my number equals my number plus 3, this also works. This gives me 8. But I can't use that in a for loop. And I actually don't even know why that is. It seems logically like you should be able to. I wish I could give you an answer of why it doesn't work, but let's try it real quick. If I say my number, if I equals I plus 1, or let's say plus 2, equals I plus 2, this is the same thing I have up here, right? It is not going to work. Of course, I haven't tried this for over a year, so if it does work, then then you'll have to forgive me, but let's check it out. I don't think it'll work. Oh, it does work. Oh, now it works. Okay. That's the thing about JavaScript, is they're always updating it now that it's now actually ECMAScript. So that's pretty cool though. And this is actually how I learn more stuff, like how I get better at JavaScript is I just experiment. But isn't that crazy that I can actually do that whole operation there and it does the same thing? So I plus plus is the same thing as doing this. I equals I plus 1, right? Isn't that crazy? So let's just go back to I plus plus. I just wanted to show you what this incrementer was so you understood it better. Now, check this out. This is how powerful loops are, and this is why I like loops, because for loops, I should say. For loops, you can actually reverse and you can go backwards. So let's say we want I to start at 10 and we want it to stop when it's still greater than 0. We're about to reverse this loop. And instead of going up, we want to go down, right? So now when I console log this, I'm going backwards. Did something wrong. Oh, I did I minus minus. We need to get rid of this. We created like an infinite loop. It's like going crazy. See, that's how you can crash your computer. Let's not do that. Let's try to close this thing. Okay, let's do this. Open index. Get those windows closed if you do that. Okay, now we've got 10 going backwards down through 1, right? So really, this is really cool stuff. I think this is important to know how to do all this. Now, notice we didn't never use an array. All we're doing is we're just counting. We're doing nothing but counting. And if I wanted to put this in my DOM, I could do something like document dot get element by ID. Let's do query selector. You can use that one, but actually I like the query selector better. Trying to always use that. Query selector. And if you notice over here, I have a div called container. I put that in before I started the video, but you would need a div to inject into, and I'm going to put it into that. So I'm going to say quotes hashtag container, and then I'm going to say dot append, and I'm going to append. What do you think I want to append? Well, I could append hi if I wanted to. And how many times would it be appended to the DOM? You guessed it, 10 times. I'm actually going backwards here. So if I wanted this to say hi 10 times, I could do that with a loop, right? Hi, 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 hi. Very happy to see you, right? You could tell. So now let's say I'm still counting down. So that's what I is. So if I put I in here, right? I is a number. So that's how it's kind of, we're accessing I. So if I put I in here, I'm going to count down by 10, right? Pretty cool stuff, right? So if I wanted to give it like some visual separation, I could concatenate some strings or something, or I could use some template literals. We'll just do string concatenation because I think that makes more sense to most people, at least when you're starting out. So if I wanted to put commas in there, I could do something like that. But what I'm really trying to point out here is I is a number, okay? So let's get this out for a second and let's make an array. If I say var animals, this is like my go-to when I'm teaching arrays for some reason, or for loops. And then I'm going to do cat, dog, I'm very unoriginal, and let's say a bird. Okay, so we've got 3 things in this array. Now, can you tell me how I would just log cat. If you said put animals.cat, you'd be wrong, right? No, that doesn't work. I'm just joking. That's kind of silly. Shouldn't even gone there. But what we want to do is we want to use bracket notation. So to get to the first index, because these are indexes, this is going to be 0, this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2. JavaScript is 0 index based. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 here, okay? And I'm going to get cat by saying animals square bracket 0, right? Okay. If I want to get dog, I say animals square bracket 1, right? And so forth, right? So if I say, what if I say 2, right? I'm going to get bird, right? And that's the end of my array, okay? So if I put 3, what do you think I get? And if you said undefined, you're absolutely correct. There's no index there, so it doesn't know what I'm trying to ask it. So let's take this actual piece of code right here, comment our for loop back in, and put it in here. Now, what do you think I'm going to get if I put animals 1 here? If you said I'm going to get cat 10 times, you're right. Okay, or dog, I put 1, so the index, sorry, not 0. If I put 0, I would have got cat, okay? Would have got cat 10 times. However, when we're looping through arrays, we don't want the first index every time. We want all of the indexes. So we can do that by, you guessed it, using I. I evaluates to, let's put this back to 0. Let's reverse our loop again. Stop before we get to 10, and then we'll do I++, right? So just to reiterate, I'm going to get rid of this real quick. What is I right now? I is 0 through 9, right? Let's look at it. Unexpected token. We forgot the plus. There we go. Okay. So I is 0 through 9. Okay, cool. So now that we've established that I is still 0 through 9, we know that. Let's bring this back in. So I is in the square bracket. So it's going to get cat. It's going to get dog, because it's going on the first loop it's going to be 0, on the second loop it's going to be 1, and on the third loop it's going to be 2. And it's going to get all 3 of these. Then it's going to continue on because this loop keeps going. And it's going to get 7 undefines. So let's take a look at that. Well, that's pretty cool. Great. We got what we needed, but we got 7 undefines, and we don't really want it to be undefined, right? So what can we do to this loop to stop it at the correct point? We could say 3 here, right? Stop I before it gets to 3, and that'll work. That's not bad at all. That gets us exactly what we want, no undefines. But what if my array grows and I add in a bear? What happens then? Oh no, I have to go in and I have to adjust the array again to say 4, right? And that can kind of be a pain, and we don't really want to do that. We want to basically do this dynamically. So the way to do that dynamically is we want to get the length of animals. So if I log, log animals dot length, I'm going to get the length of the array, which is perfect. See, it's 4. And that's exactly what I have down here, right? So if I go here and I take this is what we want. We want to put it right where the 4's at. So it's always what the length of the array is. Now we are going to always get what's in the array, and we don't have to adjust the array every time. So it's a very dynamic thing. So if I'm like getting stuff from a database, for instance, it usually comes back in an array fashion. Then if I get 1,000 things, my loop will handle it. If I get 4 things, my loop will handle it, and you get the gist. So if I go ahead and add in here a lion, then now I'm getting the lion. I didn't have to adjust the array, right? Pretty neat, right? So, hey, while I'm at it and I'm still in the middle of this video and you're still paying attention, I hope you're still with me so far. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Helps me keep making free content just like this, and I want to keep making like a bunch of it and helping people out. So I really appreciate that. If you can do that for me, you will be very special to me. Thank you. Okay, so now back to what we were doing. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So let's talk about printing that stuff to the DOM, right? So we kind of put some numbers in there, and a lot of times when you're looping, what you want to do is you're trying to show it to a user. You want to show them all your animals, right? So that one thing I showed you, instead of console logging is for what? For developers, right? So let's make it so that this is usable for users, right? So they can see it over here in the file. So I'm going to say document dot not get element. We're using query selector, and we're going to say hashtag container. That's where I'm putting everything, okay? And I'm going to say dot append, okay? And I want to append, what was it that just printed out all of those animals? It was animals, which is the array, square bracket, I, right? So now I'm going to get all my animals over here in the DOM, which is great, but they're all stuck together. And I could do that thing where I did like some string concatenation to put some commas in between, but this isn't like actually very helpful, to be honest with you. It's not like going to help you a bunch. But what we can do is use a little bit more JavaScript to style this a little bit. So what we could do is say something like this. We could say document, or let's say this. Let's say let's say we'll call it animals animal div, because it's going to be one animal per div, is going to be equal to document dot create element. This is a really cool selector, not a selector, method that allows us to create a div. So I'm going to say div. Now what I can do is I can say animal div dot inner HTML, right? So that's going to go inside the div. And I'm going to equal that to animals I. Animals I. Perfect. So before I stick it in the DOM, I want to show you something. I love looking at this. Like, you should look every time you're doing something to a div, or you're manipulating things in a loop like this, like look at it, like see what it's doing. Okay, so let's go take a look at this. Animals, animal div is what I want, because I've already got everything injected into there. Okay, animal div. I don't know why I didn't complete. Okay, so I didn't spell it right. Animal div inner HTML is not a function. Let animal div equal document.create element. Document. Did something wrong here. Animal div inner HTML. Document element. Create element. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. I want to take a look at this and see what happens. What's it say? Oh, there's a div right there, so it's definitely on this line. Inner HTML. Sorry guys, I've been doing a lot of React. You're gonna have to forgive me for that. It's not like that. You have to equal it to it. So you have to have an equal. It doesn't go in parens. It's not a method. It's like you're actually like equaling a DOM node to that specific thing. Okay, so now it should work. Cool, and it's in there. I've got divs, and they're not over here yet, but you can see over here in my console, I've got divs and stuff inside of them, and everything is looking fantastic. So now how do I get them in the div? Well, I don't want to use append. Append is better for like strings and stuff. I'm going to say append child. I want basically these divs to be a child of container. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to append. What do you think I'm trying to append? Animal div. Now, every time this loops, an animal gets a new div, an animal gets injected into a div, it gets console logged, which we don't need anymore, and then it gets injected into the DOM, and then it loops again with a new I, and the I gets a different animal, right? So I'm going to say animal div, and now what do we have? And they're all going down the page. You know why? Because they're block level elements, right? Because a div is a block level element. If I put a span, it would be going from left to right because that's an inline element. Cool. So one other thing while we're here, I think this is important, and you can grow upon this concept however you want. But what we can do now is we can attach things to this div. So we can say animal div dot add class. Gosh, I'm in React so much I actually forgot to add. I completely forgot. Add class to element JavaScript. Sorry guys, I would not. Can't believe I'm doing this right in front of you. I would always want to pretend like I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. Okay, my style. Here it is right here. Class list dot add. Ah, I knew that. Class list dot add is totally different in React, which is what I do all day long. I really actually don't do this. Like, I haven't even done this for a year, but this is beginner. This is actually advanced JavaScript, but it's also beginner JavaScript, so I don't want to downplay it, but it's also not like you'll move on from this some point, but it's important to understand all these concepts. Let's get rid of this. So it's dot add, and then we're going to add a class. So check this out. So I'm going to say animal. Animal is going to be the class. I know we have a lot of that word, but let's bring the console log back in so we can see this. And now we have a class of animal. So what that allows us to do is now we can go over here. We could attach a style sheet, or I could just type in style tags. It's up however you want to play this. And I'm going to style that tag by saying animal. And what I want to do is I want to just put like a border on it. Border. And I'm going to say it's going to be 1 pixel solid blue. Let's do blue violet since it popped up. Okay. And let's do like a padding of, I don't know, 6 pixels. And let's do a margin bottom, margin bottom of, let's say 20 pixels. We just want to kind of separate this stuff, okay? So let's see. We should have some button looking things at this point. Oh, awesome. Yay. And what we could also do, like, I just want to show you this. If we don't want it to be a div, like, I don't have to change this name. I made that up, but I could change this to a span if I want, right? And a span is going to be in line, right? So now I've got the buttons like next to each other. And then I could, since I have a span now, I could say margin left. We could put it in all of these. So margin top would be, we'll say 10. Margin right can be 10. Actually, they could all be 10. Let's just put a margin of 10 on everything, right? Perfect. So now we have these buttons. Cool. Yay. And we can make them clickable and all that kind of stuff with JavaScript. But I'm kind of getting in the weeds here because we're talking about the for loop. So let me think for a second. There was one other thing I wanted to talk to you about with the for loop, which is what if your array is an array of objects, because that's actually very common, right? So let's say this. Let's say var animals. Let's comment this one out. Let's say animals is going to be equal to an array. And in that array, we have objects. And this is a way we can associate more information with something. So we'll just like kind of build this up. Let's say a cat. Let's say animal is going to be a cat. That's going to be our first one. And then the color is going to be black. Okay. Now I'm just going to copy this a few more times because now notice I put a comma here. That's the same thing as the comma here, right? I'm going down because it's easier to look at, but I'm going to make an array of 4 things. This is an array of 5. Let's go ahead and go with 5. Okay. So notice every comma, this is one array item. This is one array item. This is one array item. This is one array item, except for this item is an object, right? Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go dog. Dog is going to be spotted because he's a spotted dog. He's a Dalmatian. And I'm going to put in for bird. Bird is going to be white. I don't know. Coming up with stuff here. Bear. Bear. I think it's a polar bear. Oh, wait. We don't want to go white again. Let's say this is a brown bear. Okay. And the lion. The lion. What is the technical color for a lion? Let's go with like yellowish. Is that even a thing? I don't know. That's not important. So now we have this new array, okay? And even though it's got some of the same data in it, like the animal name is the same, it's not going to work with my loop as of right now, because if I refresh, it's just going to say there's an object there, right? Because this is where the object is at, animal's eye. But now I could put .name, right? And the name will come up. No, I didn't put name. I meant put animal. Sorry, I could have put name. Let's put animals, animal. This actually should be a name. Would be better. Or type. So we're using the word animal too much is the main reason I'm changing this. I could just put animal down here right now and it would work, but let's just change this because I think it'll be easier for your eyes. It doesn't bother me specifically, but I think it'll be better for the instructions. So I'm going to say type. And down here, I'm going to say type. Okay, now it'll work. Cat, dog, bird, bear, lion. But, however, what if I wanted to put in the color or whatnot. So what I could do is I could say here, I could say, let's do these template literals. I'm not sure if you know these, but they're really bomb. So first of all, let me show you that this is going to be the exact same thing. So, okay, this isn't a video about template literals. Go look those up if you don't know them. They're really cool. You should be using them. So now notice this is doing the exact same thing, but I'm in this template literal, which means I can add more stuff. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to put in the exact same thing, but instead of animals type, what do you think I'm going to put in? Animals I type, what do you think I'm going to put in to get the color? And if you said color, then you're absolutely right. So, right? So I'm going to say, it's going to say cat, black, dog, spotted. That's what it's going to look like right now. We could add in some more words. So what I could say here, if I wanted to, is I could say the color and put that in as a string is going to be white or whatever, right? Black, blah, blah, blah. So that's how you use it. And I don't know how long it took to go over all that stuff, but I feel like it's all super important. But if you feel like I missed anything, or if you feel like this was just a fantastic video that covered everything about for loops, please let me know in the comments. It gives me energy to see comments, so help me out. Do the like, subscribe to my channel, and I hope you have a wonderful day with for loops. See you later. Bye-bye.